Hey everyone, and welcome back to our continuation of reading The Bine Witch by Rin Chupeco. I own this copy. It is a paperback version. Poor Bubby. He's not been feeling well today. He's been a little extra gassy. Speaking of any further background noises, we do have a slumber party going on right now. So if you hear like any other random children, that is why. But today we are going to be able to read chapter 4 and chapter 5 because chapter 4 is actually kind of pretty short, which is fun. So, if you want to join us, if you have this version of the book, this paperback version, I'm going to be starting chapter 4 on page 32. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Jennifer is here. She's listening. All right. The small mound lay 20 miles away from Mirkwick, hidden in the woods. There were no paths, and it seemed like you could find that exact spot only if you knew it was there to begin with. This creature used to haunt these woods undeterred for many years, killing stray villagers, Lady Michaela said, until an Asha who lived over 100 years ago realized it was a Devea who put up an end to its rampage. I harvest its stomach frequently as I travel to these parts of Odella often. Even dead, however, it can be dangerous. I learned this the hard way when I was much younger. My shoulder still aches when the weather grows cold. Its stomach? I stuttered at the mound. I stared at the mound with growing nervousness and fear. Fox crouched below the knoll, his eyes strangely eager. His hand played with the hilt of the sword strapped to his waist. "Keep your distance, Fox," Lady Michaela told him. She drew out a decaying bezoar and set it down on a large rock. "There is no telling what it may do." "All the more reason to keep near," he replied. "I have seen Devea before, and I have read as much of them as T has. I know what to expect. There are many things they leave out of the books, and learning about them in stories and learning through experiences are two different things. And as I recall, you did not fare so well in the lather." The Asha drew out a thin knife and, to my shock, made a small nick on her forefinger. "Take tea behind those trees. You will not wish to view this Devea up close. And whatever you do, do not look into its eyes." I tugged at Fox's sleeve without waiting for him to obey. As Fox led me away, she sketched out a strange rune in the air with her cut finger, the blood trailing after her movements rather than drip into the ground. It remained suspended, painting the symbol she drew red and pulsing, as if it had life of its own. The wind crackling around me, and I felt a small clearing charge with unseen energy, enough to make my hair stand on end. I understood how the Asha could have sensed me when I had raised Fox. This must be what it felt like to be struck by lightning, but without the pain. I felt the magic gather around the room before dipping into the mound, and I felt it burrow deep into the heel's center. But it was different. When I raised Fox, it had felt right. Here, hovering on the edges of Lady Michaela's magic, my mind... Hold on, I flipped 2 pages instead of 1. Brushed against something foul and putrid to my senses, a stench of thought rather than of smell. The bezoar blazed up and crumbled abruptly into dust until no trace of it remained. The creature burst through the mound, roaring in rage. It was a hideous beast, a hodgepodge of animal parts sewn together to form one body. It was the size of a large bull, fat and
corporeal?
No. Corpulent, and its head and a cross between a badger and a lion, and the latter's mane. Its legs were as long and as limber as a stag's, and its hooves were cloven. It turned toward us, froth dripping from jaws that widened to fold its face nearly against its ears. It bore no gums, only teeth that took up the width of its mouth, sharp and rigid. Any allure it might have possessed was in its eyes, which resembled silver gemstones striped with red. It howled, and the sound was terrifyingly human. I remembered the Asha's warning too late. Perhaps it had sensed that I was the weakest of its prey, for it came stumbling out of its grave with its eyes already trained on me, and I froze. It groaned. There was something hideously seductive about its ruby-like gaze on me, and as much as I wanted to run away, I remained rooted to the spot, unable to move. The beast bounded toward me, but Fox stepped forward, placing himself between us. His sword was level at its body, unfazed. Unfazed, the beast snarled and leaped forward until it was almost on top of him. That is enough, I felt Lady Michaela release the energy she had been holding at bay around the room, directing it toward the creature. The spell wore itself around the Devea, stretching tight like a rope to bind the Devea where it stood. The thing stumbled, its ugly snout inches away from Fox's face. Its roar was cut deep, and so for several moments it wavered. Fox did not back away and stared stonily back. Its jaws closed. The creature took a hesitant step backwards. "Kneel," Lady Michaela commanded, her voice soft. The monster dropped to its haunches. It bowed its head. "Let her go." I sank down to the ground, shuddering, able to move again. "Amazing," Fox said, lowering his blade. "It is a Travai," Michaela said, "swift as the wind, and it sings a splendid lullaby. The Bazora in its stomach is worth more than what a popular Attiller can make in many years. That is also how it entices its victims. It paralyzes them, keeping them immobile and docile before it swallows them whole. Return to your grave." The fight had gone out of the Travai. It was almost meek, and it sunk back into its mound it had sprung from. It yawned only once, a thin, almost beseeching cry like a young girl's. "Die." The Asha's voice was cold and grim. The creature died. It collapsed into the hole it had climbed out of as the word left Michaela's lips. The woman approached the beast, her knife at a ready. 4 quick slashes at its midsection, and a bright yellow bazora laid in the palm of her hand. The creature returned to ash almost as soon as she retrieved the stone. Lady Michaela pulled her cloak closer around herself and sighed. "Take the shovel from the sandalbags, Fox. Return the mound to the same state as it was in when we first arrived." "I'm sorry." I was still shivering. A sudden disappearance of the spell around us had a strange effect on me. I wanted more of it to linger, more of it to sample. Fox placed an arm around me, and I leaned into him grateful. You are not in too much danger." Lady Michaela lifted the Travari's Bazor up, admiring the way it sparkled against the light. "But it is a good lesson for you to learn. I trust that you will be more cautious next time." "Next time?" I echoed weakly. "Why did you take the stone from its stomach?" Fox asked as he shifted earth into the empty hole in the ground. "The Vaya were created by the false prince with death magic, so complicated that even Asha today know how to recreate them. They were born dead and even dormant. The dark constantly replenished their bones. The 5 great heroes discovered the means to kill the Devea and slew 6 of the 7. Yet every few years they must be forcibly raised, divested of their bazoras, and sent back to their graves. For Javari, harvest time means visiting this mound once every 10 years. There is an Akvan 100 leagues away, and the Norris Sea of Skulls that must be put down in 4 years' time, and along the coin borders one must retrieve a green stone from the tail of a Nahiti every 7 years. Their bazoras slowly decay as the day of their resurrection draws near, and when they disappear, their creature rise, and they repeat this cycle all over again. It is important that we raise them within a specific time frame, 7 days before they revive at the least. They are dormant before that, and do not respond even to the dark. Dig this grave a year from now, and it will carry no trace of bone. Dig it a week before today, and you will find a complete body. And if you do not raise them, the fox said slowly, they will climb out of their tombs at the peak of their strength and kill again, as one killed me." Michaela nodded. "A Savole, I believe. Scott Mint was in charge of it. She is a dark Asha who lives in Eyster. We have had no word of her, and I fear the worst. The only way to kill them again is to rip the Bazour from their bodies, a messy endeavor even for an average Asha. The false prince's final curse is a heavy burden. You say the great heroes killed 6 of the Devaya. What of the 7th? The Azi, the fiercest and most powerful of the Devaya, include even them. No one knows where its mound lies. It is the most reclusive of the beasts and has not been seen for many millennia. And you do all this? Was this to be my responsibility as well? The thought terrified me. I have been doing this for close to 15 years. Other Asha, death seekers, and those skilled enough in the magical arts can slay these creatures, though with more difficulty. Only bone witches can control them long enough to deprive them of the Bazoras. The people of Odala may not like us, child, but a reason for their dislike is having to be beholden to us. Michaela tucked the topaz-hued stone into her waist pouch. In exchange, we require priceless ingredients. Mix the Bazora with elderbark juice and mushroom tart, and you also have an antidote for consumption. The effects of the spell Lady Michaela had woven, combined with the strange paralysis I suffered, still linger in me. While I had not liked my first brush with the creature, the magic of the Asha used to contain it had not been unpleasant. My fingers twitched, and I reached out without thinking, seeking for remnants of the magic that remained, and felt the full force of Michaela's will bearing down on my mind. The Asha was forcing me to draw in more magic than I could handle. The pressure so great it was almost painful. Let go. Only to find myself abruptly cut off and on the ground before I could move. It will always feel good, Lady Michaela said softly, at least at first. But the more you draw in such a short time, the harder it will be to put up barriers in your mind, until all you will concern yourself with is drawing more power until you die from the dark rot. It is an addition that many bone witches could not overcome, and that is why we are so few in number. I compelled you the way I compelled that creature to show you the consequences of taking in too much, of letting your guard down and allowing someone else an opening to take over. In time, I will teach you control. I will teach you restraint. I will decide the next time you can draw the rune again, and it will be different. You put her in danger, Fox accused, dropping to his knees beside me. I could sense the anger in his thoughts. I slew a fellow sister witch once when I was younger. The Devaya took her over, and there was no other choice. I am ruthless now because I have no intention of doing so ever again. Harshness took the place of the Asha's melancholic voice. Do you understand me, T? Yes, I breathed, squeezing Fox's hand in reassurance. My mind clearer. Lady Michaela was telling me the reason bone witches were feared, not because we could control Devaya, but because Devaya were not the only ones we could choose to compel. So that's the end of chapter 4. I'm going to take a short break and be right back. I will see you in our next video.